This conference will now be recorded.
So welcome to this edition of Traders Exchange. As always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. Before we get started, I just want to talk about something real quick, okay? Those of you that were in class, okay, let's take a look at two different things. Okay, two of the same, what looks like the same personalities, and what happened. So, BB continued higher, didn't it? And not only did it continue higher, but it just a smooth, nice looking trade, especially coming over here off that orb line. What happened to CAAS? What did we notice? Oh yes, in class, this was such a great trigger, and it was, well, when we say great, it broke out of, and 250,000 shares, it came back, but what happened, guys? So all we did was talk about what made the most sense, and look, so we just started. This is level 1, lesson 1, and we're already getting into this, but do you see how the littlest things that if you know what to look for, they kind of give you everything you need to know? Because by definition, a trigger is price action and volume, but based off personality, is it actually a trigger? So we'll talk about that more this afternoon. I just wanted to point that out. As this thing was coming and it was building a flag, did we have any doubt it was breaking below? Nope. When BB was coming up to that basically double top, we finished our class right about here. Look what happened. It continued. So it's the little things, guys. It's the little things of knowing what to look for. Change every aspect of what our thought process of the trade is going to be. All right. So, by the way, guys, if you just hear me stop talking and I pass out, somebody call somebody. I'm just kidding. All right, let's start. Let's get our first question going on. So, I have trouble calculating the amount of exposure that I should take off in a given spot. For example, coming up to a new level that Prince asked, but still wanting to maximize cents above while setting spots below. What is the appropriate amount to take off? Is there a general rule of thumb for different circumstances? So this is a great question. I think we've all had this question at certain points because we've gotten out too much of a trade and then it started kind of running away. So as every answer I'm ever going to give all of you, anytime that you ever, it's going to be simple, okay? Trading is simple. We have 1 through 4 trades, right? So we know 1 is shorting off of ask prints. We know 2 is shorting from bid prints after a pull-up. We know 3 is going long off of bid prints, and we know 4 is having ask prints that pull back first and then move to the upside. We know those are what the trades actually are. So when is it time, and when do we take off what it needs to be? So let's talk about it for a second. Okay, the first thing you need to ask yourself, if you're long and a stock needs to pull back, what's the first question you need to ask yourself? So the first question you need to ask yourself, how much do you expect it to pull back? But that's not right. Well, it is right. It definitely is right, but it's not the first question. Time frame, that would be a great, that again, great answer. Okay, it's not a wrong answer, but it's not the right answer. What is my stop loss now? Absolutely not, because in this situation, what are we talking about? Are we talking about getting out for a profit, or are we talking about getting out for a loss? In this specific scenario. So obviously we're talking about a profit. So we wouldn't be worried about a stop loss at this point. So the first question as a day trader you need to ask yourself is, am I going to get another entry? Statistically speaking, off the print, am I going to get another entry? Why is that the most important question? Why? Think about it. No other question needs to come to mind first. Now, all of you guys were right. And Christian, what's my stop loss? Of course, your stop loss is also very important. It's not wrong, but it's not what needs to come to mind. Okay, If I know I'm not statistically not going to get another entry, what does that mean about how much I need to take off? I know this is going to sound crazy. It's actually less. I'm going to take off less. Why less? Because if a stock needs to move up, but I statistically am not going to get another entry, I need to be in it, right? I still need to be in it. But if the answer to my question is I'm going to get another entry, okay, let's make up numbers here. Let's talk about BB. Okay, BB comes up, we're in the stock, okay? We get huge ask prints at 950. In BB, statistically, will I get another entry? Statistically speaking, huge ask prints at 950 based, I mean, this, excuse me, I almost just cursed because of how crazy this is, but look at the volume. Statistically, the answer is yes, it's still being traded. Somebody's going to come in, it's going to be money time at some point. So in this scenario at 950, I get a huge amount of ask prints. Okay, do I even leave a runner? Let's start there. Do I even leave a runner? Answer's yes. You always leave a runner because you never know what's going to happen. From 950 to go up, but out of 100%, how much would it be? 10 or less. Well, so yes, 90. So you would leave 10% or less. Could be 5%. Could be just, God forbid, this stock could run to 98 right this second. Who knows? I'm going to leave a little bit in there because at the end of the day, if the stock moves another $2, is that 10% going to mean something? I want you to think about this. The stock just runs past 10, it moves another $2. Is 10% going to mean something in your trade? Of course it is. It's $2. I don't care what 10% is because even if 10% is only, let's say, 10 shares out of 100, that's still a lot in comparison. Everything's relative. We always have to think about that. Okay, so I'm always going to leave a runner. Okay, but at the end of the day, if I know that statistically I will not get another entry, I'm actually going to leave more. Because if I know a stock needs to go up, but I'm not going to get an entry, I want more in the game already. If I know the stock needs to pull back, but statistically I'll get another entry, I don't need to have much in there. I technically could take off 100% because when it's after its pullback, when it's time, I can get in from there. I'm technically still managing a position, but treating it like a new trade. That's really what it comes down to. Because if a stock, let's say I'm long a stock and it doesn't tell me anything, do I touch it? Day in, day out, this never changes. There's no reason to. Now, don't get me wrong. If it doesn't show me anything, am I still playing defense? Do I still need to be on high alert for defense? Absolutely, because it's not telling me anything. All of a sudden something could come out of nowhere and I could get screwed. So I'm very much playing defense. But you have to understand if let's say BB tells us I'm not going to get another entry, but the prints tell me today it needs to run to 12. Well, I need to hold more because I need to let the stock do what it needs to do. When a stock tells me I'm going to get another entry, I'll just get out. I'll trade it again. I'll get another entry for it. So what the hell would I even lose 10 cents for? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. So it almost sounds different. It almost sounds contrary to what your mind would think needs to happen, but that's how I trade every single day. My first question always is, am I going to get another entry? Now, also, then it comes to the question, is it an exception? Okay, because exceptions can just run. So if it's an exception, even if I'm going to get another entry, I might leave a little bit more. But do you see, every trade, there's no such thing as a black and white trade. There's a lot of trades that look very similar, but they're not black and white because anything can happen at any time. Now, we, pride ourselves on knowing what's going to happen before it happens, but sometimes, guys, things just go crazy. For instance, if I see huge amount of selling at 950, I'm not getting out of any of my trade. But the second it pops, how much of my trade am I getting out of? 950, huge amount of selling comes into it. Not getting out anything at 950. Because statistically, what does it tell me if a huge amount of selling comes in? What's going to happen? Well, it's going to pop, isn't it? So after that move up, how much am I getting out of? And when I say after a move up, I just mean one bar up. I'm out of everything. Okay, except for that little runner. And in this case, I probably wouldn't even, 5%, whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, is it possible, if you don't leave a runner, to catch a $100 trade? And I'm not talking about swing trading. We're not talking about Shamsi this morning. God bless you. Great trade. Made over $100 on mRNA. Not talking about him. But do you see how that works? So the answer is, so many people start looking at things the wrong, you're asking the wrong questions when it comes up to that. Because if I know I'm not going to get another entry and the stock's got to pull back 50 cents, if I'm in from 750, do you think that I should get out of any of it? Or should I let it do the 50 cents? I'm still going to get out of some, but I'm going to leave 70%, 60%. I'm going to leave a large portion of that trade because I know I'm not going to get an entry, but I also know where the stock needs to go. So it is all based off of starting with that question, will I get another entry? And then all the other things that you guys said that were correct, those come in afterwards. Good question, but what an insightful answer. If another entry is unlikely and new info doesn't come in, how do you manage it from there and make exits? Very simple. Okay, what's my entry? How much profit am I willing to give up? So in this case, okay, a stock that if another entry is unlikely and new info doesn't come in, so I don't get anything new that comes here. Okay, how do you manage it from there? Well, if I'm in from 850, that's a dollar move now. How much am I willing to lose of my profit? That's simple. I'm getting out of some at that point, but how much am I willing to lose? That's where we set our stops. Because remember, if I'm in from 850 and the stock's to 950, how much am I willing to lose? Yeah, Davis, you're ahead of me. I'm getting there right this second. 25 cents at max. 1 to 4, 1 to 5. It still works the same exact way, doesn't it? Now, there's some trades that really show you that they have the ability to keep going. Have I ever let it go 50 cents? Of course, but it's a judgment call. Once you get into the trade, you have your set game plan. But once your set game plan is done, everything is happening from now. But it's calculated. So do you think I've ever decided in my life to let a stock go 33 cents against me? Does anyone think that has ever happened? I'm saying, you know what? 33 cents is my number. So I got a yes, and I feel like everyone after that yes is afraid to answer. No. Guys, how do our minds work? In what levels? Yeah, but I would never pick 33 cents. I'd pick 25. I would never pick 40 cents. I'd pick 50, right? Because what levels the stocks trade in? If you pick 33, you are an oddball. And God, but I don't care. To each their own. Doesn't really matter. But I've never heard a mind work where it comes. That's why we know where retail's going to be, and we can trade, and we understand how to follow. It's because people don't think that way. If people if people thought, okay, in terms of 11 cents and 17 cents and 33 and 46, how much harder would this be? That would be batshit crazy. No one would ever think. It just doesn't work that way. And that's why the market doesn't work that way. If it did, we'd be not in trouble, but things would be a lot harder. And sometimes we might think 50 cents and might only work out to 44. That's perfect. I can handle that because I know I have the expectations. I see that happen day in and day out to be able to do that. But we have to stay with our levels because can you really calculate anything in the market if it's not even? What if you had to start, let's say the easy numbers, subtracting 93 minus 43. Okay, yeah, we all know that's 50 cents, right? Okay, but then you go 93 minus 30, no, stop using threes, 27. Now everything gets harder, right? Okay, our minds, there's so much information that goes on as we're watching time and sales. Do we have the ability, unless we're really, I don't want to say savant, because you don't have to be a savant, but really, really good at math? Do we have the ability to watch everything that's happening, understand, not have tunnel vision, understand all the variables that are going on, and start doing math like 63 minus, 27? And see, Davis, that's what it comes down to. Keep that part simple so you can focus elsewhere. Okay, at the end of the day, you know how many 10 cents I haven't made? And I know that sounds like really like improper English, but there's, how many 10-cent moves I haven't made because it didn't fit the, millions. We might have I don't know about millions, but lots. You see, everything's simple. We don't have to, guess who the people are that figure out that math and make those decisions and print 50,520 shares at 818. Guess who does that? Yeah, the savants. Well, the brilliant people. But you know what's funny? The more brilliant someone is, okay, in my experience, what does that make them as a trader? Citron. Citron just waits for a stock to go up so much. There's so much buying in it that once it's time for a big pullback, that's when he makes his moves. You know what? And God, once again, is the guy not an incredibly wealthy, brilliant person? Absolutely is, but means nothing to me. If I ever met, he's not a celebrity to me. If I ever met him in person, he means nothing. Because I could do the same thing. I could make generalized statements. Guys, the best thing that's ever happened. Does anyone know what his statement was? And Doug said this yesterday. Where did he say the stock was going to go? So as we're just pushing up way too pretty, unsustainable volume, what number did he say the stock was going to go? One of my favorite things that have happened this year, 20. Does anyone find that comical? What do we know about 20? We don't need Citron. We don't need anything else. So I could easily, and based off of what we know, okay, this stock is pushing up, volume's not going to sustain. I could have said 22. We say it all the time. So is the guy really brilliant or just knows simple patterns? Is he overthinking it? No. But let the people that are brilliant figure that stuff out. And if you're brilliant, you might want to trade differently than me. You might want to go to Goldman Sachs. That's fine. I'm never going to be brilliant. You know what? At this point in my life, I'm too old. I'm not getting any smarter. If anything, as the days go on, we get dumber. So I'm not getting any smarter this time. I'm always going to, it's just simple. Just simple numbers that come into it. But the number one question, just to finish the answer, the question is, do I get another entry? From there, make all decisions. Make sense? I bet you no one expected that answer to come out because it's weird. We forget common sense sometimes. We forget where we need to look. There's so much to look at all at once, but the whole point of classes, the whole point of me teaching you is to direct you where to look first. Because once you know where to look first, everything else falls into place. If you look at the wrong thing first, now you're excuse my language, but you're in a clusterfuck. It's just, there's so much that could possibly be happening. Just like if we don't know where to look at, for a controlling prince, could anyone really trade successfully without knowing that? No. So you could be the most brilliant person. Yeah, you could probably just follow, like for instance, Prince right here, you could follow these in, the pullback's going to be pretty short. But if you don't know about where the controlling prints are coming in, okay, this stock could technically do whatever it wants. If you don't know what print personality is, which is way larger than print personality, we know it needs to go down first, but it's going to be short term and then it's going to come back up. We know that, but we know that because we keep things simple. The harder you try it, and guys, it's funny because I've done it. We've all done it. And if you told me you haven't, then that means that you're too trusting. Anyone ever go down a rabbit hole of different indicators and different ways to trade and different things. Anyone ever been there before? Man, I went from moving averages to EMAs to Fibonacci to I go down the rabbit hole. You know what happens when you go down a rabbit hole? Eventually the dirt falls in. You get lost. You're now stuck in a tunnel where you don't know which way to get out because the way you went in, there's no coming back from it. And that's what happens with trading. People, I like to say and use the word dumb, and I don't mean dumb, but retail traders, in my opinion, are dumb. But they're probably smarter than 90% of people you've ever met because they know everything about Fibonacci. They know everything about all this stuff out there. So they're really educated. They just don't know how to trade. You know what I'm saying? So they're not really dumb as a person, but as a trader, they're on the slow side. And that's what it comes to, is everyone tries to make this stuff so complicated. Just think of it simply. Okay, if I'm not going to get another entry, but the stock needs to go up, should I keep more or should I keep less? How simple is the answer to that question? Gotta keep more. Okay, so I can only keep more to what I'm willing to lose. Well, 1 to 5, 1 to 4. If I was only expecting to make $1, okay, and I'm up $1, should I ever lose more than 25 cents? Think about that. My game plan was, okay, I'm going to take this entry. The stock's going to move $1. I'm willing to take a 25-cent loss for this trade. But now I'm up $1. Who are you? People think because you're in the the profit, okay, that you're making money. When do you make money? As a trader, when do you make money? When you close, when it's realized. So if I'm not willing to lose 25 cents on the trade and then the trade does what I expected it to, should I be willing to lose that much? Reslead, Derek. But do you see how that works? Quick question about that. Shoot. What if you expected $1 and it's only at 70 cents? Do a quick conversion. That's simple. So it's basically 3/4 of what it was. So what's 3/4 of 25 cents? Do I know the answer immediately? What 3/4 of 25 cents is? I honestly don't. So in that, I'm going to say 17 cents, 18, somewhere in that area. Something like that. I don't know the exact answer, and I don't care what the exact answer is, but I'm just going to do a conversion from there. 60 cents for every $1. So it's just what you got, not what you expected. So that's not necessarily true, because if you're expecting to make $1 and the stock drops down 25 cents first before it goes up that $1, I'm talking about after price target. The problem with what you just said, Davis, to adjust for what you got, not what you expected, means you have no faith in your game plan. If you don't have faith in your game plan, can you succeed doing this? Okay, so at that point, what you'd look for is a spot, as in like an orb line or a print line or something. Because guys, when I make a game plan, my game plan, it's not all or nothing, but at the same time, I made that game plan because I know what the hell I'm doing. So if I bail from that game plan because a chart moved, do I know how to read prints? If I bail from a game plan because a chart moved, do I know how to read prints? No. That is a weakness. That is being a retail trader. The chart said something. Okay. Does the chart mean shit if there's no substance in it? Think about it. Not a thing. So I know my prints. Okay. A stock just a chart just moving that does not go against your game plan. Don't get me wrong, guys. If you see, for instance, and I'm going to use this just so you could all blatantly see it in your head. Okay, everyone's seen a stock before that's shooting up, looks like it's going to get halted, and then doesn't. Does everyone know what that looks like? And if you don't, I promise over your trading career, you'll see one. but it looks like selling for days. You're waiting for that stock to get altered, and it doesn't. Well, if something like that happens, Davis, then you know what? You could change your game plan. But when I start a game plan, it's based off who I'm following. If I don't trust the person I'm following, am I really following? This is especially key since we use a conservative price, and that's the thing. So conservative, if my conservative is not working out, I'm not reading the prints right. But just because a chart moves, I don't give a shit that the chart moves. I'm talking about if I was willing to lose 25 cents to make $1, it's at $1 now. Okay, I'm not losing more than 25 cents. That's what I went into the game. That's what I was willing to lose. Now, if let's say it jumped up $5, does my game plan change? Am I going to stay at 25 cents if it jumps up $5 when I was expecting to make $1? Because this is where things change a little bit. All of a sudden, bar $5, and I was looking to make $1. Am I still only going to allow 25 cents of profit to go out? I get to have more risk because guess what? Got lucky. Okay, the key to home runs is trying to hit a base hit. That's it. And then sometimes shit happens that you just like, wow. Okay, for instance, yesterday, who made $10 on mRNA the first time that it triggered down from 150? And when I say $10, anyone make 8, 7? I know some of you did. You told me. Oh, I guarantee all the vets did, because what the hell else was there to look for? But there was a lot more of you than just vets. And forget about being a vet. It's just understanding the way that the trade goes. So there's some of you. So when I'm in a trade to make $2.50 and all of a sudden now I'm up $8, well, I got a little bit more to play with. You know what I'm saying? So, $2.50, technically I can only lose, you're talking about 62 and a half to, 65 cents somewhere, whatever the number, somewhere right around there, but basically about 65 cents. But now I'm up $5, I'm going to give it some leeway. But exactly, Davis, after the price target, I base everything off of what's happening. Before the price target can only base off of who we follow. Now, I want you to understand something as well. Once it breaks the price target, can we interpret any of the prints differently than the person we followed? Is that acceptable? So you'd think yes. Answer's nope. We got into a trade to follow somebody. If we wanted to make $2.50 and the stock moved $8, were we on point with the game plan of the market maker we followed? Well, yes, we were in the direction, but were we in the trade? If you expect to make $1 and the stock moves $10 in your direction, are you on line with what the market maker was doing? Think about it. It's impossible. Sorry, but you're wrong. So now things change, but we still interpret it from the person we followed because that's the person we followed. Guys, I don't know why there's a print line here at 27.11. This is the foundation of everything that you're deciding. You're 100% right. But 380,708 shares here at 27.11. Does anyone think that was just a number they made up? Anyone here believe that was a number that was just made up out of the clear blue sky? Hell no. There's a reason. Now, anyone here smart enough to know what the reason was? When I say smart, I don't mean you're dumb, but I mean market smart. Anyone smart enough to figure out these calculations, why that happened there? Oh, I'm so far from being even close. I have no idea, but somebody is. And these are the people we follow, but we just wait for them to do it in simple spots. That's it. So we're always, if we follow this guy at 27.11, everything that happens up until that point, that's who we decide from. And now we'll see them come in again, because if a stock's going to move $9, is there any way that they've only made one execution at one spot? Rich, you're on private, but what your statement is great. Basically, what Rich just said is, I still remember the quote you said, at the end of the day, they need to press the button. They do all the research, and that's all it is. It's just they do all the research and we just follow them. I don't know how the hell they do it. I don't care. That's a class I wouldn't even take. I just know how they make money and I know how it works. It's that simple. All right. So I know we kind of went a little bit long-winded into this question, but I hope you guys, that was a good one. Max, that was an absolutely phenomenal question because that brings us a lot into how this stuff works. All right, next, I wanted to see if we could walk through how we might confirm our mindset to think in percentages and probabilities. How do you hone that black and white robotic thought process as well as maintain that type of thinking? It is a continuous questioning of what is being played out in front of you, and I want to leave this open-ended, take any direction you might feel helpful. Well, this is like something I could talk about for hours. That was Max's question, not yours yet, Matt. I don't even see a question from you. Well, we'll get to it. Unless did I miss something? No, I don't see it. Okay, well, we'll move on. All right, so I'm gonna have to answer the was from last week. Matt, can you do me a favor? Send it to me real quick, and as soon as I'm done with this, I'll get to that. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I mark all of these down, and I got like a ton of Black Friday emails and all this bullshit. So if you send it for me, or Dave, just forward it, and I'll do it next. All right. So I have a very simple answer to this question. Okay, I'm going to repeat it again. I wanted to see if I could walk through on how we might confirm our mindset to think of percentages and probabilities. How do we hone that black and white robotic thought process as well as maintain that type of thinking? It is a continuous question of what is being played out in front of you. I want to leave this open-ended to take any direction. This, to me, is the simplest thing in the world. Everything I do in a trade comes down to what? They call me, they want me to pick up my phone. Everything comes down, okay, so Prince, but let's be more specific. So who's Prince? Okay, so market maker, controlling Prince, yes, you're all right, but it's the person I'm following. Everything I decide comes from the person I'm following. Now, one of the cool things is that once I start to follow someone, does that person end at some point? Their prints show me they need to make 250. Let's say it goes to 3. Do those prints end at some point? They do. They have to. Because if someone only shows you they're going to make $1 and the stock moves $5, at that point, they're then that's the word, satisfied. They're not now satisfied. So the key to this is finding the same person again. And I know that's a weird one, but finding the same person again. Now, how do we do that? So when we start to see them exiting, yes and no, but if someone shows us they're going to make $2.50 and the stock moves $10, did that person that showed us they were going to make $2.50 make all $10? Think about that. Did they? Well, if you're following somebody correctly, they did, because that's the person controlling the stock. So likely, and that's the right word. That's the perfect word, Christian. It's likely. It's very likely that they did. Okay. How many of you know when I trade? How many of you can pinpoint to literally a price when I trade? Christian, no clue. Well, then we got to fix that. We got to fix that big time. Okay. But do you not know the exact spot I'm going to trade? The print show, yeah, my prints come with them. That's why I don't use emojis regularly. It's because they come out in the print. But think about it. I teach you guys exactly what I do. Guys, when we do classes and I talk out everything that happens, okay, is it ever different? Guys, remember, this is pattern recognition. That's all tape reading is. Is it ever different? Is it ever different on what an entry looks like? Is it ever different on, do I teach you guys how to trade? And don't get me wrong, there's certain, but do I ever teach you how to trade off of off-level prints, and that's where an entry would come in? Do I ever teach you anything but the same thing day in and day out? Do I ever teach you anything differently? So if I teach you exactly when an entry is, guess where I am? And don't get me wrong, if you're not seeing it, then that's fine. This is something that happens when you get advanced. But see, and that's the thing, Davis. And David said, if we're any good, your entry is where we'd be looking. It's just where an entry is. You all know what my entries look like. Do I, shoot from the hip, a calculated shot from the hip every once in a while? Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, not for nothing, but every morning Doug Natesh down there, and they sit there and they say, exactly where I went in, because they know, because they went in at the same time. So what you're looking for is a pattern in the way they trade. So my entry is going to be give or take within 25 cents of a what? Always. Let's say I'm going long, prints above, pullback. My entry is going to be in 25 cents with a what? Major level. Oh, yeah, you're not wrong, but no. The hell do we get in on, guys? No, what? A trigger. Come on. It's going to be a trigger. Give or take, if it's over 25 cents, well, the range is huge, but for the most part, it's going to be within 25 cents of a trigger. So if you see a trigger, and I'm talking about that stock, if you see prints, do you think some of them might be mine? Let's just just make this simple. Do you think some of those might be mine? You're almost guaranteed. You never thought to recognize your prints, but see, the thing is you have, because you guys have all taken trades off my prints alone. And I'm not trying to sound cocky and or anything like that, but I would bet my life on it that 90% of you have taken a trade on my prints. Okay, well, because talking about money doesn't mean shit. It's what I can teach you guys. I'll post my profit all day. The day that I do that's the day I quit ATC. I don't believe in it. If I told you some of the trades, guys, you wouldn't believe me. But it's regardless. Okay, it's whether or not I could teach you and whether or not I could show you as something's happening. That's my two criteria of what I give to you. But we can understand. So if you understand where my prints are coming in, is it easy to see where other people's prints are coming in and their habits? Do they hit the ask and leak over? Do they start with a burst underneath and then hit it? So what we're looking for is the same person's pattern. So let's make up a number right now. 26 gives us beautiful prints underneath and ask prints here. Now the stock's up to 27.50. I'm going to be looking for something the same. Do you fix something that's not broken? If it's not broken, do you fix it? No. If you're an elite trader, do you change what you do? I forget, it's on the website. I don't remember when actual tape started. It's like 1767, whatever the number is. But when someone's successful, they don't change their ways. Guys, is there any day I trade differently? Any day? Let's start there. Is there any day I trade differently? There isn't. Is there any stock that after my original entry, I'm going to trade differently afterwards? So let's say I add. Am I going to add the same way I did the first time, or am I going to trade differently? No, it's the same thing over and over again. Okay, it's the opposite of insanity, because I'm not expecting a different result. I'm doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result. That's where my percentages come from. So think about this for a second. The same person you just followed, if they're going to get into the stock again, how are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? And it might not be exactly the same, but exactly. It's going to be similar. So you just look for that same thing. Now, let's say somebody shows you the exact same way the person followed, but it's not the same person. So the person you followed that put you in the profit, someone else does it the same exact way, but it's not the same person. Anyone here care about that? Are you mad that it was, you filed Chase instead of Goldman Sachs? Anyone here going to be real upset because I got extra part of their trade? Grr, and Dave. Do you see what I mean here? So you're looking for the same person. You're looking for that same pattern because insanity is what? What's the definition of insanity? Expecting different results after the same. So the same thing happens over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, what's the definition of becoming a consistent and a great trader? Seeing the same thing happening over and over again and expecting the same result. That's all this comes down to. So once we get past that point, we just want to see the other person come in. We want to, and the other person, the same person, I don't know. I can tell you, probably within give or take 1 or 2, if it's the same market maker. Excuse me. I could tell you within, 1 to 2 how many market makers are within a stock. But do I give a shit if one market maker sees the other market maker and comes in at a lower point and does the same thing because they saw it worked? Nope. Doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care who I follow. I just want to follow people that are right. That's all that matters. So as we get extended, look for the same thing. If it changes up, let's say we're long and it changes up the way we start seeing it come in at levels. Is it the same market maker? Is the market maker we're following still there? Probably not. Because when I add guys, it's the same thing as taking an entry. I think the most I've ever added on a stock, I believe, and I'm talking about a day trade, not something else. But oh my God, it's either 8 or 9. I wrote it down and sorry, it was like a big deal. But like I added, it was either 8 or 9 times. I want to say 8. Okay, but all 8 times, was it any different? Did I do something different the next time? Or was it just like taking 8 trades in the same stock because it just kept going up? Exactly. I still had but it's the same thing. So you have to understand, it doesn't matter what a stock does. I don't change my trading because if I change my trading, do I have any discipline? And the one thing you can guarantee, we talked about earlier, okay, that assumptions to me are bullshit. An assumption means you're not sure, but once you get to 70%, it's not an assumption anymore. It's a market assumption. You get to 80%, at that point, I'm all in. If that person says 80%, I'm following them, and we come into there. Okay, so my trades are not going to change. I'm still going to trade the same way. I'm just doing it at different prices. So do you see why it's easy to see how many market makers are in there? Just like, we could come to 26 right now. If 26 gives us one burst, okay, huge buying at 26, but a burst. How many people are in now at 26? You might not have caught it the way I said that, but how many people are now in at 26? Because if it was one person, they probably were going to hit everything. But if a burst comes in at 26, how many people can we kind of figure are in there? 5, right? It's 5 people there. They all did the same thing. So now I'm still following one person, aren't I? I'm better off having 5 people because they're all doing the same thing. But now I'm looking for the same thing the next time. Because what happens if it comes to 2650 and I get a burst and a burst? What does that tell me about the other 3? No one ever thinks this way, but it's so simple. Yeah, the other 3 aren't adding. The other 3 aren't adding. What does that tell me? Think about it. Same position, just at a different spot. Okay, if the stock was really going to keep running, how many of those 5 bursts would have came back in? So Davis, the answer is 4. And the reason the answer is 4 is because sometimes if the volume, as it comes back up, the volume's going to get a little bit higher. So 4, 5 is perfect, but I would accept 4 as all of them still being there. Do you understand what I mean by that? I know it's you got to understand, guys, tape reading isn't a black and white thing. There's a science that goes behind this. So if there's only 4 bursts that come in, sometimes they kind of get caught. So as long as it's within one of it, I'm okay. Exactly, and that's it. And 4 out of 5 is fine as exactly still that majority. But if 2 people come in, shit, how much more can I expect the stock to go? So I still know that 3 people need to make money. Excuse me, 2 people need to make money, but the other 3 are letting it ride. If that's only 2 out of 5, well, guess what I get once it moves another 50? In this case, I'm talking about 50 cents because that's the increment the stock moves in. So I have to assume every time a market maker comes in, they got to make at least 50 cents. So at 26.50, once it moves to 27, okay, what mode do I instantly go into? Instantly. And this is like some real, and Keith, 100% defense. Guys, this is some advanced stuff. Okay, this is not simple whatsoever, but I mean, it really is if you know what to look for, but it's not simple. But do you see, so really what, at the end of the day, what comes down to is your trader still there? If you're following 5 traders, how many are still there? If this stock goes to 30, okay, and 5 traders are in 25.50, how many traders will be adding 50 cents above? $1 above. This stock goes to 30, how many? Five, because it's going to 30, so they're still going to be here. Now, when it gets to 29, what are we going to see? This is how you need to think. Once it gets to 29, are we going to see all 5 traders anymore? We might see 1 or 2, but we're not going to see all the people anymore. Once we don't see all the people, how does the stock market work? It's such a simple thing. Okay, and that's why I don't understand why anyone in the world doesn't tape read, why every trader doesn't tape read, and they use these dumbass lines that only work for a few months. It bothers me to this day. I don't get it. But supply and demand. So if less people are demanding it, what happens? So simple. So the robotic process. Okay, is it maintain that is everyone I'm following, are they still there? Now, like I said, okay, I might say 5. Could there be 7? Could there be 9? In all reality, based off of how it comes in, there could be, but I can only start with numbers I want. So I know when there's a drastic difference. So if I thought 5 was there the first time and now there's 7 there the second time as it's going up, well, shit, we're in a good spot, aren't we? Until, what if 15 people come in? This is where things get messed up. But what if 15 people come in? Bail. Why do we bail if 15 people come in? Well, that stock going really high. And if it's going to go really high, what does that mean needs to happen first? No, it's not that they fight each other. It's not too many to read. Yeah, if 15 people are coming into a stock, guys, is that stock going high? Is that stock going to go way higher than that price? There's no question. So if the stock's going to go that high, once it gets crazy, that means now we pull back because it needs to be built. Otherwise, a stock that goes parabolic is no good for a market maker. So we have to understand if it gets something crazy, guys, bail. If you're long, bail and get ready for a short. Because it changes the time frame because now we got to build. Now we need to come all the way back down. We have all this shit that needs to happen. So it gets to a point where if a stock moves off 5 people, 15 people, too much, stock comes back down. If print personality's 5 prints and we get 15 prints, what do we expect? And that's why, do you really, at the end of the day, to be successful within trading, do you really need to know how many market makers are in a burst? I'm just breaking this down because this is how it really works. But do we need to know how many market makers are in a burst? And that's the perfect answer. Well, it's not even close. Because all we need to know is print personality. If print personality is way higher, building time. If print personality is there, we don't need to. But to be an elite trader, you need to know these things. So that's basically the best way I can answer that. Everything's robotic. It just comes from percentages. Well, the thing is I'd rather follow 15, but if I see 15 market makers, by the time I follow their prints, I'm going to be an old man. Especially if it's around the 20 level, and that'll sit there for like 12 to 15 months, and we're just going to be any day now, and then all of a sudden NWL falls to nothing. Wonder what that stock is right now. I don't know. I know Steve for a fact will know this, but yeah. If you look, this thing just sat there for a month until tank job. But there were so many people coming into it. By the time it was ready to go to the print, we're old and gray. So we like to find things that are shorter term, especially as a day trader. All right, so I'm going to go a little bit longer. I don't know if my voice is going to be able to take it, but Shamsi, this should have been the first question, and I do apologize for that. So lately, I've had success trading sub $10 stocks. However, when I make a price target, I don't always let it play out, and it gets there. I scale out early before the stock is or close to my price target. I'm out 75% of it. For example, a stock like KXIN made a nice move down in the pre-market from buying at 4, hit my pullback price target, and I bought it when it triggered the ask at 4 at the open. My price target was 450, yet I scaled out 25% at 412. I made 28 cents on what I thought was going to be 60-70% trade. How do you recommend scaling out, and what do you think is appropriate to wait on selling until it hits or is close to the price target? Lord, this isn't a quick question. Well, we're going to answer it anyway. All right. So every time one of the reasons I've become the trader I am over these years is because of questions like this. So this is such an excellent question. But the thing you need to understand is when you ask a question, is it the right question? And what's the right question that goes towards the question you're asking? So this question makes me think of a simple question. What is the minimum I will get into a trade for? And I don't say what I look for, the minimum. I knew that was coming, Eric. And you're right, but that's not right. It's 25 cents. Okay, if I want to trade 100,000 shares of a stock that's $2.20, $2.25, am I okay with making 25 cents for it to go to 250? Am I going to be okay with that? Hell yeah. Yeah, it's a quick trade. My favorite trades, guys, that's why I love these cheap stocks. My favorite trades are when mRNA in 3 minutes, and I don't even need to look back, 3 minutes, move $10. Okay, what else could you ask for? Okay, we're caught up, and not so much the millennials, but a lot of people are caught up where their parents teach you have to work real hard, real long hours to make lots of money. Well, guess what? That shit's not true. Okay, the best trades to make are the ones that do what they said they're going to do instantly, because then you're out. and you made your money, you're done. Why do I need to wait all day for a stock to move $10 when it moves $10 in three minutes? Okay, so not to talk bad about anyone's parents. My dad's a mailman. He works harder than any human being I've ever met, but he works his overtime and he works so hard for, in my opinion, nothing, not a lot. So I was taught that same thing in trading. Get it out of your mind. Okay, so let's start there. 25 cents on 100,000 shares. Does anyone know how much that is? If you can't do this math, we're going to have a simple math class. It's $25,000. Okay, how long does it take a stock under $10 to move 25 cents? There's no right answer, but almost instantly, right? So if that's how you made your living, you woke up in the morning and you traded for, 10 seconds and you made 25 grand every day. That's a pretty good life, right? I don't see a problem with it. All right, so the question that you have to ask yourself is 25 cents. Now, if a stock is going to break your entry, should you get out? Is there ever a reason to lose money for no reason? Nitesh, it's okay. Well, this guy, he also spends $25,000 to go, on a flight. So nobody listened to him. Still reason to lose money. 90% of the time that someone gets out of a stock before, and I'm telling you, I've trained so many people. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, if I didn't ever teach, I would be not a shitty trader, but I'd make a little bit of money. I wouldn't be where I am today because I've seen everything. 90% of the reason someone gets out of a stock before it makes 25 cents is what? Such a simple reason. It's nothing to do with the game plan, nothing to do with not knowing how to trade. It's because no, it's not that it's not that they got shaken out. Money. Doug is 100% right. It's money, but what caused the fear of losing money? Wasn't the prince? Wasn't their game plan? Wasn't understanding what caused it? Guys, thank you, Tim. Starts with a C and ends with a heart. The chart. How many of you have gotten into an entry? It went up 20 cents, and then all of a sudden, you are now only up 11 cents. How many of you gotten out of a trade like that? Oh, we've all. If you're ever going to be a successful trader, and your answer to that's no, you're lying to me. That means you don't know how to trade. That means you're reading someone else's Instagram or whatever it is, and you're lying. Because every person, but it's based off a chart. Okay, so the first part of this question is, what do you stop looking at? Stop looking at the chart. Okay, do you know what the price of a stock is based off time and sales? We all do, right? Do we all know that we need to have a game plan, that we have a set stop loss? If it goes lower than that price, we have to get out? The worst part of a trader, and I'm convinced that holding trades comes with experience. Believe me, I've tried, and I'm a pretty mentally strong person. I really am. When it comes to certain things, but trading is my forte when it comes to there. You know how hard it was for me once I got up my shares and I saw a chart move down 10 cents instantly. What was my first reaction? I don't care how mentally strong you are, who you are, unless you're a sociopath. What was my reaction? Christian, GTFO. That was it. Oh, get out. Done. Because I made 10 cents. What happened almost every time afterwards? No, I wasn't out. See, that's the thing. It moved up 20 cents. I'm up 20 cents now. But then a bar in the chart brought it down 10 cents. So now only up 10 cents. Oh my God, panic, sell. 10 cents. When the stock did what? Followed my game plan. My voice could be dead after this. Followed my game plan. Okay, so the first part that you have to understand is your chart doesn't mean anything. Do we set game plans up based off charts? Or do we look at charts for reasons to start paying attention to something? Happened today in ears, Derek. And then what? But this is the key to especially cheap stocks, because if every time the stock bars down 10 cents, you get out of it, you're screwed. You're never going to succeed that way. But see, that's the thing. Chart's really a defensive strategy. Okay, it's only a defensive strategy when it does what? The only time we pay attention to a chart if it hits what? We have our game plan. What is the only part? Somebody's tired. Mike just came on. I'm going to call him out if I can find it. I don't see it. Okay. Stop loss. The only time a chart movement means a decision needs to be made is when it breaks your game plan. I'm struggling to use the interwebs. You have Richard Rawlings. Think about that. When else does a chart mean anything unless it breaks your stop loss? So if we got into whatever, I don't want to use this because it's just so ugly. But if we get into the stock right now and our stop loss is at 570, what besides what is happening on time and sales right here, does anything mean anything to us? Think about it. Does a chart movement ever mean anything? It helps us make money. It helps us lose money. But 570, that's the only time anything matters. Nothing else matters but over here. Minimize your chart. Okay, we can find a lot of stuff about the chart, but if we get into a trade that tells us it needs to get to a certain spot, does looking at chart movement ever help us? Okay, who is chart movement made for? Retail. In reality, is there any difference between losing 6 cents and making 12? I want you to think about this for a second. Is there any difference between losing 6 cents and making 12 in the scheme of your life? And obviously, if this is what's happening to you, you're not trading lots of shares. So we're talking about, let's call it 1,000. Is there really a difference between the 120 and the 60 in changing your life? Not really. There's, the 120, yeah, that's nice, but not really. Have you still been using just time and sales to trade, and or what was your analysis when you did so? I've been doing it during slower times, Steve. Steve, honestly, I'm doing it for a game. I want you to understand that it's just a game to me. It's not to make money. To make money, I need a chart. I can make way more money with a chart than without, right? So the reason I did that is just because I'm bored and it's a game. Trading to me is just a game. Making money doesn't excite me. Being a good trader does. You know what I'm saying? So I do that during the morning time though. If I told you that I didn't put a chart there, I'd be lying. I mean, come on, think about it. The morning's money time. You really think that I'm gonna take away one of the easiest things to use? You know what I'm saying? The reason I do that is because the afternoon time I have a great morning. Who cares? Because I don't care about money. The money just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. It's not that money doesn't mean anything to me. Money doesn't excite me. Can you continuously trade if you're only focused on money? Is it possible? Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you have enough money. Do you know why people become billionaires, but they strive to have 100 billion? Psychologically, how does that happen? And I know I'm so off track, and honestly, my voice is killing me, so I'm going to have to end soon. But they're not obsessed with. You got to understand, they're not obsessed with the money. They don't care about the money. It's about doing it. That's all it is. Okay. If I know that this stock needs to go to 7 and it drops 10 cents on the chart and I don't care about money, does that affect any decision I make? Doesn't. But if I care about money, it does. Money, hopefully a lot of, there's some of you in here that are very, very successful and probably more successful than me. I have no idea when it comes down to that, but you can't live your entire life being motivated by money, because if you are, eventually if you hit that success, you hit it, there's nothing to be excited about anymore. This is a game. I'm obsessed with the game. I'm not obsessed with money. I don't give a shit about money anymore. Well, see, that's the thing, is that if you're broke and you're thinking of trading like you're broke, that's what's going to happen. Okay, I'm also a huge believer in energy. Okay, I call it Christianity. Some people call it, I don't care, Buddha, whatever you're into, but I'm a big believer in what we put out there comes back. All right, so if you're constantly thinking about money and you're worried about money, what are you putting out there for yourself? So if you're broke and all you ever do is think about being broke, will you ever not be broke? My opinion, it's going to be a hard thing to do. But let's get back to this question so we can finish up, because I have to get ready for class. So the price target first there is 25 cents. When a stock moves, you have a spot that you're getting out. Okay, when I say willing, does everyone know what the word willing means? And you're going to be like, obviously, Rich, I know what willing means. What does willing actually mean? What does willing actually mean to a person? Okay, our armed forces, they're willing to give their life. Well, guess what? They don't get to say I'm not willing anymore when the time comes. That's why they are in my opinion, some of the greatest people that could ever exist, because they're willing. But they made that, and that's the thing, Steve, is accepting the risk. They're willing. They know what the worst possibility could be. So if you get into a trade and you pretend you're willing to lose 25 cents, but you're not, can you ever be successful? Because at the end of the day, are you actually willing? I always say Call of Duty, because Call of Duty, I enjoy it. I think it's great for traders. I think it really helps with your hand-eye coordination. I really, Marta. But you have to understand, being willing to do something doesn't mean you do it and then stop doing it. It means you're willing. So when you have a stop loss, guys, can you ever be a successful trader not being willing for it to hit your stop loss? Think about that. Can you? So really what it comes down to, and I'll talk about this a little bit more next week. Like I said, we're just getting a little bit late, and I love talking about this stuff. That's why I get long-winded when it comes down to it. But if your price target's 50 cents away, and you get out after 10 cents of profit, were you actually willing to lose what your game plan set? And as we all know, the answer is what? The answer is no. So if you're not willing to accept your stop loss, is it humanly possible, unless it happens immediately, to be willing for the stock to follow your game plan? Is that possible? Everyone thinks that, I could be willing. Yeah, it's easy to make money. It's easy when a stock just goes straight up. But are you willing for it to hit your stop loss? So if you're not willing for it to hit your stop loss, and as Kristen just said, it's all about emotion. And where does emotion live in trading? It's actually a very poignant answer to the robotic. Oh. But think about that. Is it possible? You're not willing to accept the bad. Can you be willing to accept the good? No. So unless you basically what it comes down to, unless you let the stock hit your stop loss, because guess what? Are we going to be wrong? We all forget about this. Are we going to be wrong? As a trader, every day we're going to be wrong. So if we're not willing to be wrong, can we ever be willing to be right? Or do we get caught in that 12 cents? I don't even know what you would call it. That 12 cents like purgatory, basically. So that's what it comes down to. Okay, either you know what you're doing, and I'm going to tell you something right now. Okay, this is something I've seen in so many traders. If every time you take a trade, you're wrong and you get stopped out, but then you're right, you're not willing. And when I say stopped out, I mean stopped out at like 11 cents profit, 12 cents profit. That's not how this works. Could you make a ton of money? You could. But at the same time, you're going to lose 6 cents here. You're going to start, forming bad habits. That's it. See that, and that's such a great statement. We're going to end on this. So I hit a stop loss every day, and even though it's a loss, I pat myself on the back for keeping the discipline. To me, getting it on your stop loss, guys, no way in the world ever is 6 cents, 11 cents, 25 cents, depending on your price target. Is that a loss to me? Because what's going to happen the one trade that you let its game plan work out? It's all back. And the more you're wrong, if you know what you're doing, the more statistically likely you're going to be right the next time. So, it kind of works on from there. This is a great question. And like I said, I'm going to think about this a little bit more and we'll talk a little bit more, but it's already 1:51. I have about an hour before I need to eat something and everything else. All right, guys, any questions? Yeah. All right. Talk to everybody in the chat. On the rest of you, the link will be available on your dashboard.